Hey guys, it's Troy here with another pen video. Wanted to share with you one of my latest acquisitions. It's a Pelikan. Yes, you've seen me do some Pelikans here, and it's an older Pelikan model. This happens to be, it's not on that side, maybe it's on this side. Yes, the M400 with a medium nib. And, Pelikan, a German-made pen, tends to make quality luxury pens. This particular one, you can tell, may be an older box, and I'll tell you why I know that here in just a moment. So here's the box that the pen comes in, and it opens up, and you've got your guarantee here, and the pen is not in the box. Well, that's because I had it out. Here it is right here. This is the M400, and this is the white and tortoiseshell. It's got some gold-filled trim all the way around it. I generally like Pelikans. Most Pelikans I've had, I've really, really liked. I've only had one that I went, it's alright. You'll never guess which one that is. Yeah, it's this one. So, by and large, well, actually, I take that back. The Pelikan Jazz, Elegance is one that I just did not like whatsoever. This one here is actually, it's all right. I thought it was kind of decent looking. I found a decent price on it. It looks to have never really been inked. So I went ahead and got it from Antique Digger. AntiqueDigger.com is his website. And actually, he probably ought to start instituting a discount code for people I keep sending there to buy at his website. But so anyway, I picked this up from Greg over at Antique Digger. The Pelikan M400. I didn't have a 400 series pen in my collection. I've got the 1000. I've been shopping for an 800 not too long ago. And I've got like 8 different Pelikans here in my collection. I had another one. I had a 150, but I gave that one to somebody. This is the 420, which is actually one of my favorites in this size pen. And it's an excellent writer. Really enjoy that 420 compared to the 400. There you go. And you can see the difference here. You can see that the 420 is newer than the 400. And the reason I know that is because the 420 has one chick on the cap, whereas the 400 here has 2 chicks. And Pelikan had gone to the one chick about 2003. So this particular pen, I would date that prior to 2003 or so, when they changed the logo for Pelikan and went from the 2 chicks to the 1 chick being fed by the Pelikan mother. Here is an M200, which, by the way, I also bought from Antique Digger some time ago. And this is the M1. This is the 120. So these are some of my smaller Pelikans that are in my collection. Alright, so just to give you a size comparison, if you're familiar with the 120, the 200, the 420, and this would be the 400 model. So, it's just under 5 inches long. It's a little smaller than I particularly like. I've played with some other models. I played with the 600. I've played with the 800, which is why I want to get the 800. I played with the 1000. The 1000 is the big honkin' oversized pen. So, but the 200 is okay. It's a little smaller than I like. And this one, as you can see, was pretty much on par with the 200. I was hoping that the 400 actually would be just a little bigger than the 200. But, as it would have it, nope, not so much. So, you've got usually a very beautiful nib. Pelikan makes some fine quality stuff. You've got the white, which a lot of people don't like white because, it can get stained and kind of an ink magnet, as some have put it. It's a piston filler. Now, what I like about this particular thing, you can see right through. Look at how you can see through the barrel of that pen. You can see right here that this is where the piston ends. The piston doesn't travel back as far as I thought it would. The piston only draws up to here and stops. So I went ahead and I put in some Pelikan Edelstein Olivine into this particular pen to try to match some of the coloration of the tortoiseshell on the barrel. I mean, it's a real pretty barrel. So the Edelstein Olivine, I do believe, was the ink of the year last year for Pelikan, and I picked that up at Pelikan Hub. So this is your twist knob in order to move that piston up and down. I'm not going to do it because it does have ink in it right now. So I expected this to be a very nice and smooth writing environment when I picked it up. Let's see, what else can I tell you about? Does it post? Yeah, it does post. It posts fairly nicely. I personally like this pen to be posted because it feels so much better in the hand to me than it does unposted. You can write comfortably unposted, especially if you got smaller hands. My hands are a little bit bigger, so I like to go ahead and post this thing. You've got the nice Pelikan beak clip, as you would normally expect to find, with a gold trim all the way around that finial and where that clip ring comes. You've got a wide band here and a narrow band. This particular pen did actually have a couple of stress cracks that you really can't see unless you're really looking close. You really got to look for them, and that's one thing I'll say about Greg over at Antique Digger. He does a great job of letting you know if there are any flaws that are in the pen. You can see here on that cap, you may be able to see it says Souveran Pelikan. So let's go ahead and see how this baby writes. Just because I know that there's somebody out there who is going to say, I wish I'd been able to see that next to like an M1000, well, here you go. Here is a size comparison between the M400 and the M1000. You can see there's a sizable difference both in girth and in length. Alrighty, so this particular pen actually was containing the Pelikan Edelstein Olivine, and I've run it dry. So I set this aside so I can clean it and eventually put that back into my rotation. But as of right now, this pen is empty. So I went ahead and got this particular pen. Now, I told you about the Pelikan Edelstein Olivine. This is the box that it comes in, and I'll go ahead and at least open up the bottle, or open up the box and show you the bottle. And you can see it's, let's see if you can get a color that you can see here, but it's a green. It actually writes greener than you would think, and so they call it olivine, but you know, it's really more than olive. When I first was like, olivine, I don't know, but it's actually a darker green than you would think with a name like olivine. So let's go ahead and post it. Usually Pelikans write first time every time. I've had this pen sitting around for a couple of days, and I have not picked it up in at least 2 days. So let's see if she does what I expect. There you go. The Pelikan M400. So this one is prior to 2003. The best that we can tell with a double check. This has a medium nib, and I will tell you right now, on this Rhodia dot pad, it's writing very smoothly. This is the first Pelikan I have picked up that I had to do any work on the nib. None of my other Pelikans I've had to even touch because they were flawless. This particular nib I actually had to take a little bit of smoothing to it, because it was a little toothy. It would actually have a little bit of a catch and a little bit of a skip, as I was working on it. And I got this, and especially because I use a lot of notebook paper and copy paper during the course of my work, and I write on that an awful lot. I don't do my work on Rhodia dot pads, but I actually had to take a little bit of 2000 grit sandpaper and a little bit of micro mesh, spend a few minutes with it, and after I checked the tine alignment and everything looked great, just to take that toothiness or that slight scratch. And when I looked at it, I actually saw that the nib slit was actually cut at a slight angle, and I could tell that there was just a slight little flaw on the bottom with the tipping material, where it was just a little sharp. So I took down that sharpness. So as of right now it's a little smooth. So, and it writes a little lighter if you're running really fast. When you do the swoops like that, and you do the real fast swoop, it doesn't keep up as much as I would want it to, but it is much improved compared to when I first got it. So it's got a little bit of flex, so you can get a little bit of line variation if you wanted to on it. Nothing really to write home about. It's not one of their top end nibs. Reverse is an ultra fine line, and I don't know why anybody would want to write that way, but I know some people who've tried to. I remember I let somebody borrow my pen, and he claims he knew how to write with them. The first thing he did was turned it like that, and was writing with one of my Watermans. It's like, dude, it's upside down. No, that's good. That's fine. My son bought me a pen, and it's nothing wrong with that. All right, bud. Whatever. So, anyway, the M400. When I first got it, like I told you at the beginning of the video, I was, it was okay. Still writes a little lighter when you go that direction, but it's still better than it was, put it that way. It's not the best writer that I've got in my collection for that nib, for all of my Pelikans, my flock of Pelikans, other than the one not made by Pelikan, but the one that is made by Pelikan that I would have expected to be a nice smooth writer. That's was a slight disappointment to me, and that's no reflection upon the seller whatsoever. So let's take my M200, and I got just a little bit of ink left. I can see through the ink window that this particular one is getting to be out of ink, but this is the 200 nib. The 200 nib writes, in my opinion, better than that 400 nib. So I can show you what those two nibs look like side by side. And this one I've already refilled several times. It looks like I'm going to have to fill it once again here because it looks like I'm running out of ink soon. So let's go ahead and put that up, and let's show you the 420. The 420, this is all sterling silver on that trim, and it is more of a luxury pen. It actually looks like something you could use in an executive boardroom, and it is nice and fancy. And let's play these two nibs side by side so you can see what they look like. So this is the 420. This was actually a really good deal on this particular one that I picked up in Nassau, Bahamas, at a jewelry store. The guys didn't know much about pens at all, and they were selling some, and I went ahead and picked up that particular pen. But it is smoother. This 200 was smoother, 420 smoother, and this 400 now writes smoother than it did. I may yet spend a little more time on this particular nib, but I got it to where it's acceptable, and where it's not quite as toothy and doesn't catch on the page quite as much. So anyway, my M400, the 600 that came out, there's that purple, like a lavender and white, is an incredibly good looking pen. I've been eyeballing one of those. My wife has seen it. She kind of likes it. So that's on my wish list. I looked at the 800 in Stone Garden, and I had a seller make me an offer to buy it. And though it looked great on paper, knowing what they go for, I found other sellers online that I could buy from for the same, if not just a little bit lower. So I may have to, if he wants my business, I may have to beat him down a little bit, because actually I can see him in person, and I've met and talked to the guy quite a bit. So anyway, there you go. Pelikan M400, one of my latest additions here to my pen collection. Got several more pens on the way. Nothing really extravagant or expensive, but I do have a few more. I've got another vintage Waterman that's on the way. I'll be playing with that when I get an opportunity. And I've got several Chinese pens on the way, and I'll share some of those with you when they show up. So there you go. That's the latest edition of Pen Mail.